Welcome to Bare Bones. With your host, Danny Meehan and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome in, Bears fans, to this episode of Bare Bones. As always, I am Mason West and co-host Danny Meehan. Danny, how you doing today?
I'm good, Mace. How about yourself?
Not too shabby. We wanted to make sure that we got you an episode for the 4th of July holiday weekend, right? You know, maybe tomorrow you're driving to your in-laws in Michigan or, in Wisconsin, and you need something for the road. Hopefully this podcast can do it. I personally will be going to Wisconsin. Why did I say that? I'm going to Michigan. I'm doing some brewery hopping, up starting in Benton Harbor and then working my way back to Illinois. How about you, Danny?
I will be at work.
No, well, way less fun than what I'm doing. But what you're doing is super important.
4th of July at the firehouse, pretty fun. I'll probably be doing I'm the cook for my shift. So I'll be probably doing your typical barbecue grill out thing for lunch, like burgers and dogs, and dinner. I've decided I'm probably going to 3-2-1 method some ribs for all the men.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, not too shabby. But what we have in store for you today, we did this last year. I liked it. I have no idea Danny's impression of it, but I think, in the dead time, it's a good time to kind of look and see where we're at before actual news starts coming back out about some of these positions, in terms of our confidence and concern about where the depth chart lies, and then also how this depth chart is going to compare across the NFC North.
I agree. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, Mason, it's been kind of, I've really, up until the last few days when I started going through these depth charts and whatnot for the show that we're doing, it's been kind of nice to just turn football off in my brain. I'd see stuff in our group chat, and it's I don't care. None of this means anything. Today we had the Ruben Hippolyte's been working in at weak side linebacker today. Neat. The fast guy who tests well athletically, looks good in shells. That shocks me, guys. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, and it's interesting. We can get into this when we dive in, but it's interesting that Ben Johnson does specifically call out a guy like Ruben Hippolyte, but at the same time, is it a degree of pandering? I don't know. Ben Johnson doesn't seem like a pandering kind of guy. I don't think he grasps for a random name, but like you said, at the same time, it's shells. He should look very, very good, and we'll see what happens when it's preseason, second game, second preseason, the season. I keep saying the word season a lot there. And what he's actually doing there, how much playing time. And at the end of the day, too, that position, that linebacker spot, it's no longer a starter, right? It's nickel is your starting
your starting defense, yeah. Which is why they paid Kyler so much money.
And that's going to bring us to our confidence concern meter here. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to go from the position we are the most confident in, that right now as it sits, don't need to touch the room, don't need to edit it, that you're pretty happy with what it looks like, all the way down to our least confident, and we're as we're going through this. So Danny, what is the position that you are the most confident in at this point, going a couple weeks away from getting into training camp?
So I'm guessing, because there's 9, we're separating corner and safety, right?
Those ones are separate for this activity, and then they're paired together when we get to the NFC North.
Okay. So I would say right now, just because of how good he was still last year, I would probably put corner as the position I'm most confident in. Just because Kyler Gordon's very good. Jalen Johnson's still at the very near the apex or the peak of the positional groupings right now. For cornerbacks, Terrell Smith is a serviceable player. I think Tyreek Stevenson, for all things considered, no matter how bad his second half of the season was, he's still a talented football player. So I think right now corner is where I would put my confidence.
And I always like to highlight people who have not listened to this before, watched it before. Danny and I try to do as much of this stuff separately as possible, and then just kind of do it off the cuff when we get on here, because it's more natural and we don't want to influence what the other is thinking. Not that we would anyway. We're both very independent people when it comes to this. But I also had corner as the first and thing I'm the most confident in. I'm going to pair this together with also my second position, which is wide receiver, because I think you hit it on the head in terms of why corner should be there, in terms of Jalen Johnson, why between his skills. I believe he's like the 10th highest paid corner right now. I'm going off the top of my head.
He's like 10th or 11th, somewhere like that.
But you're getting, I mean, true number one corner out of him. You can squabble with what's happening at corner 2, but you're having a playable corner regardless there, right? I think that Tyreek is in for a bounce back when you look at the Dennis Allen of it all, when you look at, secondary position coach at this point in time. I think they're going to get him right. He did look better at the end of last year as well. So I think Tyreek, he's he's skilled. It's getting twisted where he's like a bad corner. He's not. He's a good cornerback. And then worst case scenario, like you were talking about, you have Terrell Smith there as well. And the Bears secondary was not necessarily like a problem for them last year. That was not their issue. And part of this is also why I'm now talking this in receiver. You could also hide your corners a little bit if you really want to, with how much zone that you play, with how you're going to organize that defense. If you have a weakness there, it's not as glaring as some other positions. And then you already talked about Kyler Gordon. We don't have to rehash that. He's fantastic. He's one of the best guys at his position, whether it's playing action in the slot, whether it's blitzing, whether it's covering the tight end. He's absolutely fantastic. But that led, so for me, in terms of wide receiver, why that's number 2 and not number 1, there's just more question marks. And by that, I mean, DJ Moore has been an on again, off again wide receiver 1 for me, right? Like he had a year like he did with Justin. That one, the Washington game was fantastic. But then you have last year where it's like he didn't look like he didn't want to be there half the time. Rome did not get targeted as much as we would have hoped. Plus, he was a rookie. Keenan Allen really overshadowed him just too much, in my opinion, in terms of what that offense looked like. And then you have guys who you're confident in that they're going to be helpful. Zacchaeus, Devin Duvernay is more of a special team guy, but again, that's kind of a question mark. We have no idea what we're going to get out of Luther Burden. Tyler Scott has been absolutely just pretty useless.
Nothing.
He does not play special teams, and he's done absolutely nothing. So for me, that's why, again, I'm not like, it's not an issue. It's not number 9, but I'm more confident in what I'm going to get out of the cornerback room, and that I won't have to worry about it, just slightly more compared to wide receiver.
I think that's fair. I had wide receiver at 3 personally.
All right, wide receiver at 3. So what was why did that end up at 3 for you? Like, why is that more concerning than, say, cornerback?
So it's more concerning for me because I don't think Rome's going to be bad. I think a lot of the things Rome made mistakes with isn't a physical ability thing. I think he might be dumb, and that scares me.
Okay.
Like, I know it's the touchdown thing where he's completely out of bounds on the unfilled in end lines. Like, I get it. It's one, but it's like, it was like the precursor to, I almost feel like he doesn't know where he's supposed to be. And that might be a time, like it comes in time thing. It also might just be a guy who's really talented, who may never have picked up the true nuances of playing offense that wasn't just, hey, I'm really talented. So that worries me. I think the Luther Bird and DJ Moore skill sets are very redundant. And I don't know how you can manifest and use both of them, but that's Ben Johnson's job. After that, I think Zacchaeus is good. I think Duvernay is good for what he is. Like, it's a good, solid, strong wide receiver room. I just have more questions specifically about Rome and the fit of Luther Burden early on than probably warrant having.
You mean Moore and Burden or Rome and Burden?
Moore and Burden. DJ and Burden have a lot of overlapping. Yeah.
And there's been conversation there, right? Is Luther Burden pick a DJ Moore insurance policy, whether it's attitude, injury, or just a contract you want to move off of in a year or two potentially. It wouldn't be anytime soon if you did that, but that's all future. We're not sure, but yeah, like you said, it's the Ben Johnson's job to figure out how you get all those pieces to fit together. Because you're hoping it's not like last year where it was just real clunky. You had guys running routes that didn't make sense. You had Keenan Allen who just lost us 2 steps and also was just being force fed the ball. But again, we're not overly concerned. I mean, Danny has him at 3, I have him at 2, but it's not as clean right now as the cornerback room. Or who did you have at number 2?
Safety.
Okay. I'm laughing. You'll see why I'm laughing in a second here. Safety. Why did you have safety as number 2?
I think Kevin Byard is as solid comes. He's got probably the most important ability in all of football. He's available every game. Kevin Byard is going to be playing football to this point in his career, at least. I think he's still really solid, if not unspectacular. I think Jaquan Brisker is one of the better box attitude, tempo setting safeties in the NFL. And they very much missed him last year. After he went down with that concussion post the Carolina game where he killed a man and therefore killed himself.
Another thing that sucks with the Brisker stuff, it wasn't even his fault. It was Ian Thomas put his head into Jaquan Brisker.
Jaquan Brisker. And there's a multitude of questions I know that we've got of the handling of his concussion and whatnot and his contract status at the moment. Like, I get it. And that's the biggest hang up and why I almost did flip corner and safety. But then you go to the other end with Jonathan Owens is an NFL football player. Like, he's a legitimate, he can play. He's not great, but you can throw him out there and not feel like it's an absolute negative that he's playing safety for you. And he's a special teams contributor. So for all those reasons, I had to put him at 2. Like, I didn't really think that hard about it when I was doing it because I think the Bears' overall secondary room is really well put together.
Yeah, I mean, exactly to like you said. I mean, Kevin Byard just doesn't miss games. I mean, he was 17 of 17 started games played for the Bears. He was 10 of 10 for Philly. He was 6 of 6 for Tennessee the year before that, and then even more so before then. And he's just a professional safety. He's going to be in the right spot and he's going to do the right thing. Is he the long-term safety for the Bears at this point? That's a future question, but for this year, 2025, the Brisker stuff, you have to look at it multiple ways. One, you have to look at how that concussion happened. Like I said, it was Ian Thomas into him versus Brisker necessarily, creating a dangerous contact. And without getting into too much detail on it, I know Bears fans, as they're sitting there and they're not seeing him play, and the concussions are scary, and they're thinking, well, he's not playing, therefore this must be a very bad concussion. But, and the story came out in terms of him going to that specialist, yada, yada, yada. It's not all that it seems in terms of it being that was a horrendous concussion. There's more behind the scenes going on. He's back full now. That's all you have to worry about. And anytime you have a concussion, there's a higher chance of you getting another one. Just like if you get a hamstring strain, you have a higher chance of getting another one. That being said, I think, in my professional opinion, as someone who treats concussions pretty regularly, I'm not overly concerned about him for this year. It still can happen. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's not going to happen, but I'm not overly concerned. And the last thing I'll say on that for safety, because the reason I was laughing before, I had safety at number 3. So very similar to what you had, Danny. Your backups, Jonathan Owens, professional safety that could start for another team. Right. He's not blowing you away with it, and you would like to probably upgrade that position, but you're not losing sleep at night knowing Jonathan Owens is starting for you tomorrow. Elijah Hicks played well last year. He's, again, nothing, not a Pro Bowler, nothing crazy, but he gives you special teams, and he played well when he needed to start. So it's a solid room.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, who do you have as your 4th most confident position?
And this is where the wheels kind of fall off because it's kind of pick what you believe in versus what you don't believe in. I put linebackers at 4.
Interesting. Okay. So why did you have linebacker here?
Well, it's a product of across the league. Linebacker play just kind of sucks, and the Bears don't outright suck at linebacker play. And TJ Edwards, still a tackling machine, extended. Clearly, Dennis Allen likes him. He's going to probably be your Mike this year, so he's going to have the green dot, all that stuff. Tremaine Edmonds, he is what he is. He offends my sensibilities to watch play because he just wants nothing to do with coming downhill and putting his face mask into someone's chest. But that's neither here nor there. What he's good at is taking away the deep middle, being a coverage linebacker, being enormous. Like for better or for worse, like being enormous in coverage matters. He's got these tree vine arms. He's huge. He's fast. He's athletic. He's run and chase. Like he does a job and he does it fairly well. And he wasn't awful last year. Again, I will never critique the play in terms of production. He is productive. I will critique how I feel when I watch you play, though. Like, I don't think he plays linebacker the way the position is meant to be played. That's a me thing. I'm not telling anyone else how to feel. Like, but he is a good football player. I think Noah Sewell can be used in a way with Dennis Allen where if he's used in blitz protection. And if you remember a couple of years ago when they drafted him, that's exactly what I said on this very show. With I think his little key to being successful in this NFL league, in the league, is to be used as a de facto like Sam Rush blitzer. And then there's Hippolyte, who's the great unknown. I'm not even going to attempt to say the man's name, who's a special teams ace, who's a good athlete.
You're talking about Amin Ogbongbonga? Sorry, Bominga?
Yeah, let's go. Him. Special teams ace. Like, they've got a lot of athletes and a lot of good bodies. Like, I don't think it's a great position room, but I don't think it's awful, which is why it ends up at 4 out of 9. Like, you know.
So I put, it makes sense to just do it this way. I put linebacker further down than you did. I put it at number 8, actually. So in terms of a pretty concerning position for me. The reason I did so was because two main things. One, TJ Edwards is creeping older in a position that gets a lot of wear and tear. So at age, he'll be 29, I believe, like when the season actually starts.
He was a subpar athlete when he came out, and now he's got hundreds upon hundreds of collisions on a under athletic body.
And he plays with instinct. That's the calling card. He's in the right place at the right time. If you lose a half step or a step at age 29, what does that look like? If he gets hurt, what does that look like? And so, because I don't like the depth behind him. I mean, talking about hurt, Sewell stays hurt. Like he's always on the injury report or out. So, what's that look like? Amin is just a dude. And obviously they don't love their linebacking core as well, like, or at least their depth when they were using Daniel Hardy a bit at linebacker in mini camp and stuff of that nature. And don't get me wrong, Tremaine. And so when it comes to Tremaine Edmonds, I don't have the exact stat. The Athletic Football Show talked about this in one of their shows I think it was 2 weeks ago. When you looked at the Bears defense in terms of passes over the middle, I mean, they led the league in not allowing that. So clearly he's doing that job, right? His ridiculous wingspan and frame is doing the job. But I'm just concerned that if an injury happens, whether it's in the linebacking core or like we saw last year when you lose Andrew Billings, how the middle just opens up because you don't have the linebackers that are going to be able to get in there and plug up the holes that are now exposed. That's where my concern comes in. So
mine was a top end talent thing, truthfully.
Yeah. And I totally get that. That makes sense to me. My number 4 is one of your favorite players in rooms is tight end.
I had them 5.
I had 5. I put them at 4 because Cole Kmet is solid, right? He is going to, in pass blocking, he's for the most part going to be in the right spot. He's going to get your block. In run blocking, sometimes there's some hit and miss there. And as a receiver, when he's actually targeted, when you look at him and throw him the ball, he catches pretty much everything. He gets open, not from your traditional Sam Laporta Kelsey, Kittle athleticism, but like he uses his frame and gets open. And it was very frustrating for me last year. It did make sense. It's like, just throw him the dang ball. Now, are there problems that have come up with him? 100%. He had a couple mental errors, like when it came to some penalties, on the rub routes, things of that nature. Some of his run blocking was a little funky, but I attribute that as much to the issues with the run scheme and the offensive line as much as I do with Cole Kmet particularly. But now you also bring in Colson Loveland. I get it. He's a rookie. He's coming off that shoulder surgery, but that's just something that I am confident that a guy like Ben Johnson, like we saw with Sam Laporta, will be able to get the most out of him in terms of what they're able to do there. You have Durham Smythe, who actually was a useful player in Miami previously. Like, it wasn't mind-blowing, but he was a useful player. So when it comes to that, like, what do you need out of your tight end room? You need them to block. You need them to run up the seams and catch. That's what you at a minimum need. And then things after that, like you're hoping that Loveland can be in terms of, again, the Sam Laportas or the why am I blanking on the Cardinals tight end for all of a sudden? I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely out of the Ravens, because I can't remember what the heck the Cardinals tight end's name is for some reason. That's your pie in the sky hope. But in terms of a solid position group, tight end for me. What about you?
Pretty much all the reasons you stated. It's solid, if not unspectacular, which gets you right in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of worry, but I just think you're talking about banking a lot on it for a rookie.
Yeah.
And Kmet is what he is. Solid blocker, solid receiver. I don't expect much from him other than just he's going to exist. He's going to do his job when it's called upon him.
And I think in general, like if you could do like a freeze frame, right? If you could plays called, snaps, balls thrown, you see the balls in the air heading towards Cole Kmet. I don't know about you, but I'm more often than not, I'm going to be like, he's catching that ball. He doesn't drop it unless it's thrown to him. I
think catching it I expect him to catch it and kind of just fall down. Honestly. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a useful player.
Catch it, and usually he falls forward for like a yard or two. So if he runs an 8-yard route, cool. He's going to get 8 or 9 yards. And I am more than okay with that on 2nd and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point too, his contract is aging well. I know people are trying to just trade him away. Like when the whole Miami thing popped up where they traded away Jonnu Smith and people are trying to ship out Cole Kmet. To me, this is a whole other conversation, but Devon Achane is a better, yes, but essentially DeAndre Swift. He was, I think, 5th in the league in rushing yards over expected, which was in terms of bottom of the league, which is not very good. He's explosive, but he doesn't hit the hole super well. I don't need that. I also don't need to give away useful players at positions that clearly Ben Johnson wants talent at, or at least moderate talent at.
Agreed.
For me, number 5 was quarterback. This is a little
quarterback at 7.
Quarterback at 7. We'll through that. So why did you have quarterback lower here?
Prove it to me.
Below.
Prove it to me. Like, it's
totally
all
fair.
Like the idea of Caleb Williams is what people are hanging their hat on right now. He had one of the top 5 Bears quarterbacking seasons in team history by the metrics. I get it. Like, I kind of don't care because it was a lot of throwing the ball when the game's out of reach. It was a lot of nonsense. Like, it was just not a good season. It was dysfunctional. It was disjointed. It was a whole lot of and all the ugly habits we saw at USC that we were worried about, they reared their ugly head in the worst kind of way. He took the 3rd or 4th most sacks in league history for one season. Like, he got hit a lot. And credit to him, he never really missed time. Like, he's clearly a tough kid. Like, I'm not dooming him, but I can't say the confidence meter should be super high either because I don't think it should be. You got to prove it to me to earn confidence. So,
and that's a totally fair way to take it.
It's purely talented. It's purely talent versus production right now.
I justified having this higher for 2 reasons. One, there's a couple of positions that I'm just overall lower on. So that's one of them. 2, when you look at, you're absolutely right. I mean, look at Caleb's year last year. I mean, he had an EPA per play of negative 0.05. That was between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, who were both arguably very not good quarterbacks at this point in time. He had a 10% sack percentage, which led the league in sacks taken with 68 of them. But, when you look at next gen stats, Williams also had 57 unblocked pressures and 13 unblocked sacks, which led the league for both. And when you look at that EPA per play, so much of the EPA per play at this point is also driven by sacks, right? And Ben Johnson has said that, like, sacks kill you, like that. And so when the reason I'm a little higher here than maybe like you are at this point is there's so much to prove it to me. But if you can just the things that Ben Johnson is good, and this is a bank on Ben Johnson, right? The things that Ben Johnson is good at that he got Goff doing, right? Getting the ball out quickly, getting it to your checkdowns when you need to, being able to avoid sacks and understanding the game, all these different things. And you look at what Caleb was having to go through with the offensive line issues, with the film issues, with just the general lack of play call creativity and stacking the plays, all of these things. When you tie all that together, it makes me more confident that we can see the good things from USC, Caleb, because that was the thing too, right? I mean, something like the deep ball. The deep ball is a confident throw. You need to be confident that the ball is going to be where you want it to be, but there was no confidence instilled in Caleb because of the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of a pie in the sky hope. I do agree with that, but when you look at all the things now that are around him, hopefully the Ben Johnson effect, and again, I'm a little lower on a couple of positions. I have a quarterback at 5.
Sure.
What did you have above quarterback? So you had tight end at 5, you had quarterback at 7. What did you have at 6? Offensive line.
I put it above quarterback for the simple reason of you added a Hall of Fame talent in Joe Thuney. You added a guy that had his best years in the NFL under Ben Johnson and Jonah Jackson. You added a guy who's, per the PFF metrics, one of the 5 or 6 best centers in football the last few years. They spent money, and you put into it. They drafted a left tackle very high from Boston College in Trapillo. For as bad as Darnell Wright looked the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, he looked did like a complete 180 and looked like one of the preeminent right tackles by the end of the season. So I think the confidence should be there that it should get better with better coaching, better offensive line help, better everything scheme wise, and better talent for it to be. This should be a top. I'm not even going to say top third, but like a top half of the league offensive line, which should be, if Caleb is what everyone says he is, it should be more than enough. Because I stand by the thought I've always had. If you need a good running game, a good set of receivers, and a good offensive line for your quarterback to be good, I got bad news about your quarterback.
He's probably not a very good quarterback.
He's probably not a very good player.
So we both had offensive line at 6, funny enough. The reason why I had offensive line at 6 versus quarterback at 5, because of how you have to look at the offensive line in totality and how they have to gel together, right? You see the really good lines, they're able to play off each other. They're able to, sometimes they need some time even, and you don't have a lot of time, right? Especially in today's NFL with decreased practice time in the summer and everything like that. Mm-hmm. This is going to be very new. I would, if anything, expect the line to look better next year because of that time, depending on Joe Thuney and all that jazz in terms of age and if he can stay at the top Pro Bowl level that he's been playing. And the second thing for me is left tackle. You just don't know at this point in time what's happening at left tackle. You have 2 pathways essentially. Technically there's 3 of it. One is Braxton Jones can come in the second week of training camp, can knock all the rust off, and can be a solid left tackle for you like he was last year, because he is a solid left tackle. People who are negative on him, it's just weird to me. Or the second path
Charles
is
all over again.
Oh my God, yes. Or Ozzie Trapillo blows you away, and he's just that solid. But at the end of the day, rookie tackles struggle. They do. There's a different speed to the game. He played left tackle, switched to right. He was a little bit. He was better at right. So there's a reason for that. And the third path, unfortunately, would be Braxton Jones is too hurt. Ozzie is not ready, but you throw Ozzie out there, or you're throwing, Karan Amagaji out there because you have to, out of need necessity. So because of that unfunkiness, I just had to put line a bit lower.
Understand. It's a reasonable thing. I was just more talking about the overhaul and believing in the schematic. Yeah, but you're right. The biggest thing with offensive line is cohesion and continuity.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 7, just to try to stay in order here, I put running back. I really wanted to, and I think this is probably just because the running back in me than when I played it, and just the spitefulness in me. I wanted to throw it at like number 9, just to be like a big middle finger, especially because everyone and their mother had circled that you needed to address running back this year in a big way because of not just the Ben Johnson of it all with, the running back room he had with the Lions, but also this running game sucked last year. It was not good.
Well, guess where I put it, Mason? Dead last. Dead last.
The reason I put it at 7 and not at like 9 is a couple of reasons. One, I do think that Ben Johnson is going to be able to get the most out of what you have. I think 2, the offensive line play is better, and you should get better running lanes available. I already alluded to this a little bit, but the scheme should be better. The run game made no sense last year. Like the block, so guys didn't know where they were blocking. It was a whole thing. I also think and hope that Roschon Johnson is going to hit this year with a little more tenacity, removed from that those concussions, because those concussions robbed some of the violence he ran with, which I think affected it. Also, I mean, the dude was a really good goal line back. Every time he touched the ball, it was either a first down or a touchdown, and just wasn't really used, I think, enough, because the people that were in charge were just in love with DeAndre Swift in terms of having him try to run between the tackles, which he just never did. And lastly, putting Manungai, like, is he going to he's a 7th round pick, let's be real. But I like the way he runs. I like the guy he is. I just think that you have it hopefully enough with the pieces that you have that you create a good run game versus it being like overly positive about any individual piece of that room, if that makes sense.
Sure. It makes sense.
And if DeAndre Swift goes down, I think I can live with Roschon Johnson and with Manungai. If Manungai goes down, same thing with the other 2. Versus my last position, we'll get to that later, that if certain people go down, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I just don't know. So ultimately, why did you put running back dead last?
I think we're pinning too much hope on a bunch of guys who are very flawed. Like Manungai, I was the guy in the draft who, leading up to it, loved him. I like how he runs. I think he's wired right. I think he's very solid, if not unspectacular. But he's a 7th round pick. DeAndre Swift is highly flawed. I think he's a wide receiver playing running back. Roschon Johnson, as much as I liked him coming out of Texas, I think after his last concussion, I think the gladiator we saw running is no longer that player. Like, I think I'm not saying he's running scared, but I think he's running to protect himself a little more. So that's going to inherently take away from the way you were. Yeah, I get the scheme thing and everything, but I think the confidence meter, like I still don't believe the starting running back is on this team just yet. I just don't.
I will put money on it that this is your running back room week 1.
Okay. So you and I we have a disagreement. I can't imagine you're looking at this room and feeling good about it.
No, I'm not. That's why it was at 7.
Not you. I'm saying like the coaching staff. If this is what you really want to trot back out there, that's on you.
And as far as we understand, there was an attempt, there was a desire to add to the room. They just kept getting sniped. Right? Yeah. And in all reality, you're kind of avoiding I don't know how active they might have been in trying to sign a Nick Chubb, but you're avoiding potentially the explosion that is Nick Chubb's knee at this point. You didn't go for the J.K. Dobbins, who, I don't know, isn't really the best scheme fit either. Going back to the scheme of it all, I mean, as much as I like the dude, like Jamal Williams had a time in this offense. Like, he was a good running back in this offense. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like that the scheme has some oomph to it, or at least that's the hope.
Mm-hmm. And then
the last position that we have, Danny had them at 8. I had them at 9. Very close, just slightly different here, is defensive line. Danny, why are they so low for you?
I don't trust anything about them.
Nope.
Like, the defensive tackle, it's like Grady Jarrett's old, if not very good. Still was pretty good last year. I don't know if people have a different TV screen than I do when it comes to Gervon Dexter. He's a part-time player. He doesn't play consistently. He doesn't play with great pad level. He gets pushed around. Like I think that people still see like the RAS score when they should be watching him. He's not a bad football player. He's just not a great one. He's fine. He's a rotational defensive tackle at this point. And then there's Andrew Billings, again, rotational, but he's a game wrecker when he's healthy. But he's also, I think he's 31 now, so an older player. Then you get out to the edge, and it's like, you can sell me all you want about how great Montez Sweat was the back half of that one season. Like, last year was much more akin to what he had been consistently in Washington prior to his arrival in Chicago than that back half of the season with the Bears. I don't think Montez Sweat is a bad player. I think he is a starting defensive end of this league and a very good one at that. I don't think he's elite, and I think you need someone else to come help him, and the help ain't coming. And if, God forbid, that guy goes down, good luck with whatever you're throwing out on the edge, because it's a bunch of bums.
And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Like, if Montez Sweat got hurt, I mean, you're just not in a great place. There's obviously a lot of debate about who Montez Sweat is. Is he 2023 Montez Sweat or 2024 Montez Sweat? I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. No, he's not. He's not Myles Garrett. He's not Trey Hendrickson. He's not one of those guys. He's the level B number one pass rusher, in my opinion, right? He's not like one of those guys, but he's not like terrible, horrendous. You go out and you get Dio Odengbo. That's a project. That's a projection. I mean, the guy's already been in the league for 4 years, and he had an 8-sack season 2 years ago, but then he had a 3-sack season last year. So, and also he didn't participate at all in minicamp. And I don't know why. They didn't really say why, but because of that, you have a guy in Dominique Robinson, who we've all essentially been trying to cut for the last couple of years, who was mentioned by Ben Johnson as a guy who stood out. And is he finally, because of his length and all that, is this a defense for him? I don't know. You're hoping. Austin Booker, you're hoping he takes a step this year, but he wasn't really mentioned or stood out by most reports. And then, like you talked about, I mean, the center, it's being locked down by an older Grady Jarrett. He looked solid last year coming off the injury, but not Grady Jarrett of old, and he's another year older. Andrew Billings is coming off the torn pec and is a year older. And then I'm a bigger, Javon Dexter guy, I think, than you are. But he's a piece. I'm not sitting here and saying he's a top 7 defense 3 tech.
I think you and I are saying the same thing from different perspectives, because you go on Bears Twitter, people are comparing him to Jalen Carter, and it's obnoxious and wrong.
I do it because it's fun, but
it's objectively wrong and makes you look stupid.
I do it with a little winky face more so just because it makes me feel better out on the Bears passing on Jalen Carter.
It makes me cope.
Wait, because I think I might be wrong on this. Did Dexter have more sacks than Carter last year?
I think they had the same amount of sacks, but the pressures were
if you watch the film, Carter is a more impactful player.
Everyone's favorite free agent for the Bears, Trey Smith, got dog walked in the Super Bowl by that man.
Yeah, let's be completely off. Like, Carter is a better player. Now, Dexter makes the most of his opportunities. He gets in the backfield and he got sacks, which was better this last year than the year before that. But he's a rotational solid piece. He's not changing anything. Shamar Turner is a rookie who is also a hothead, so you're hoping he stays on the field.
I like Shamar Turner, man. That guy plays. I
like him a lot, but I just hope that he stays.
I don't know that he's any good. To be truthful, I'm more concerned that he probably sucks, and that's why he has to play so pissed off than he is actually good. But there's our positional rankings. Huzzah!
Yeah. So really quickly, just so everyone, if you're listening to this, Danny had in order from most confident to most concerned: cornerback, safety, wide receiver, linebacker, tight end, offensive line, quarterback, defensive line, and running back. I had cornerback, wide receiver, safety, tight end, quarterback, offensive line, running back, linebacker, defensive line. Pretty similar, couple of flips there, but for the most part, yeah, in sync. All right, we're going to take a quick break and then get to our NFC rankings, NFC North rankings. All right, welcome back. We are going to do the NFC North positional rankings. It would help if I flip the page for our people who are watching this live. Let's just do this arbitrarily. Danny, who is the best linebackers in the NFL?
In the NFL? With the
in
NFC North.
NFC North. I don't know why I keep saying that. Look, it's been a long week.
I was like, my rankings are wrong.
I had last week I was gone. I had a Disneyland / conference in like the LA area. Then I had like a stomach bug on Monday that just destroyed me, and then I had to make up all these patients the last couple of days.
I actually had
Wild.
the Bears as the best linebacker group in the division.
Okay, the Chicago Bears.
That being said, I had them as kind of, if you twisted my arm, I could see flipping them with the team I had number 2.
All right. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I had the Vikings at number 1.
That'd be my number 2.
And then I had it flipped. So I had the Bears number 2, and then you had the Vikings number 2. So why did you have the Vikings 2, Bears 1?
I think the top end talent is just better. I like Pace a lot. I think Cashman is a hilariously fun chess piece that Flores uses to the best of his abilities, but I don't think peak of their powers that either of those two is better than, like, again, I will rag on Tremaine Edmonds, but if Tremaine Edmonds is playing to the peak of his powers, there's not a better linebacker in this division than him. The problem is getting him to play to the peak of those powers with any regularity.
Right. I just think like when you take, and I looked at this maybe a little, I took in the outside linebackers as well, like Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, as like that's like their linebackers. So I may have cheated here a little bit, and that's why I think I ended up putting him higher, because Van Ginkel played really well last year. He fits so well in that Flores. And then
I had them more focused into the defensive line as edge rushers.
Totally makes sense. And I'm fine. And it's however you want to take it. Grenard is a good player. I mean, he was a guy that Bears fans, myself, I know I circled last year as a free agent. I hope they got. So I think that's really the biggest thing for me is when you take all five of those positions and you compare it to like kind of the 3 of the Bears, it slightly was different there. In terms of, for me, 3 and 4, I put Lions at 3. I put Packers at 4. I got no confidence in the Packers linebacking unit. It's just like a lot of highly drafted guys that don't perform.
I actually had it flipped.
And then you had flipped. So you had Packers at 3 and Lions at 4.
Because of the high-end talent, but it actually plays. The Lions linebackers aren't on the field ever. They're always broken.
And that's a fine point. Fine point.
Yeah. Where do we want to go to next, Mace?
Let's go to offensive land. Let's go to running back just to get that out of the way.
Oh god,
because gross. So
can we just put the Bears at number 4 for both of us?
Number 4 for both of us. That running back room is not good.
It's bad. And
even like, let's say it's successful. Let's say like the running backs are actually like a 15-ish unit for some reason. I'm just gonna say that's because Ben Johnson's a wizard. I'm not putting it on the room. I'm putting it on him. Yeah, that's gross. Anyway, what was your 1 through 3 for running backs in the NFC?
1 through 3 in order. I went Lions, Packers, Vikings.
Ooh, okay, we were very close. You put Lions, Packers, Vikings.
So while you're doing this, let me go ahead and give you a little spiel. The reason I put the Packers above the Vikings, I'm guessing you flipped Packers, Vikings, right? I
did flip it.
Okay. Josh Jacobs was really, really good last year. And I thought they were dumb for cutting the guy I thought was a better running back who inevitably signed in Minnesota, and Aaron Jones. But I think there's a value in having a true bell cow running back the way that Josh Jacobs is, especially if he remains productive, versus having to basically have Aaron Jones as a part of a stable of running backs in Minnesota. I don't think Aaron Jones is bad by any stretch. I just think at this point in their careers, as much as I sound dumb now for how I was talking last year, Josh Jacobs is a better, more valuable player right now on a down-to-down basis than Aaron Jones is at this point in his career, because you almost have to pitch count Aaron Jones anymore.
The reason I flipped was different than you, because my first thought was the same thing. Packers at 2. There's something about Josh Jacobs I don't trust. If you look at the year before with the Raiders.
I understand.
He had 805 yards, 3.5 carry, and 6 touchdowns. And then with the Packers, he blew up to 4.4 yards, 1,300 average, 1,300 yards, and 15 touchdowns. It's kind of what he's always been. Is he kind of flip flops? He's got a really good year, an ant year, a really good year, an ant year, and then after Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd is, I don't know. He just didn't really play. Emmanuel Wilson, I don't really know. I really like Jordan Mason. So I think the 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and then spelling with Jordan Mason, I like that combo better than the potential maximum of Josh Jacobs. And of course, the Lions are awesome, so they're number one for both. I mean, the combo of Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is just good.
Yeah, it's nasty.
All right, let's go to, again, let's just get this out of the way. Defensive line. What was your number 1 through 4?
Okay, 1 through 4 for defensive line. I went Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears.
Lions, Vikings. All right. So ours were similar. Well, actually, ours were very different. I lied to you. I have Lions down at number 3.
So I wanted to put the Lions lower, but like adding Reader, Aline Neal, Hutchinson coming back. Like, I get why you would have him lower because so much of it hinges on the Hutchinson becoming the apex predator he once was. But I think he's young enough to come back specifically from a broken bone injury. I don't know that he had nerve damage. I haven't seen that reported anywhere, but that's what I would do. And the reason the Vikings were so high as opposed to you, or the reason I had the Vikings higher was because whereas you gave them the bump for the defensive line for Grenard on linebackers and whatnot, I gave it to them with Grenard and Van Ginkel on defensive line because they're de facto edge rushers.
No, and that totally makes sense. I thought about doing it that way, and I can't remember why I justified flipping it to
and
linebacker.
The Packers, I really liked Van Ness. We'll see what comes of it. He's been pretty disappointing so far. I think, as I've always considered Big Kenny in the middle a game wrecker, but he's not been good the last couple of years.
No, it's been tough.
And Rashawn Gary is like, he got paid and decided to stop playing or something. I don't know what happened. So it's all this highly drafted talent that is just to this point. But because there's talent, I have to put them above the Bears because the Bears don't have talent.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the first part. The Bears it's a hard drop off, a lot of unknowns. So the Bears deserve to be in the bottom here. I put the Lions as low as they were. I have no inside information on this. I don't like the Hutchinson injury. I don't like some of the videos that we've seen popping up in terms of his movement patterns. And I think with the kind of athlete he is one funky thing away from losing what makes him special. Mm-hmm. So I don't love that. I really like the DJ Reader ad. I really like the Lee McNeil. But then it just, when you didn't have Aiden Hutchinson, you just felt how soft that line was. I even like the Roy Lopez ad. I like Roy Lopez a lot.
Lopez is a good football player.
It's just like the unknown for me on that line put it lower down. And this was another thing. This maybe isn't fair, but losing Aaron Glenn is something I'm concerned about for the Lions and what that defense will look like. Versus I was confident in what Packers defense was schemed up to look like and to generate pressures and all that jazz. So that's where kind of the flip happened.
I get you. And we don't need to cover the Bears again.
No, the Bears again, just gross. It's fine. Wide receiver. What was your order?
Why don't you rattle off your top 4 first?
Sure, I'll do that once I fix what this looks like because for some reason you can't see that anymore. There we go. So my top 4 for wide receiver was, again, so much stuff. Okay, I had Vikings, Lions, Bears, Packers. Vikings are number 1.
I initially wrote Vikings, Bears, Lions, Packers, and then I wrote a double arrow, flipping the Lions and the Bears, because I unjustifiably don't really care for Jameson Williams. And I think I allowed my disdain for the player that he is kind of like cloud my judgment. He's a good football player. For some reason, he just doesn't do it for me the way he does it for other fans. Like, I'll akin it to this. Jalen Williams for the Oklahoma City Thunder, people swear by him. And something about him I don't like watching him play basketball that much. He's great, but something about him just doesn't vibe with me. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad basketball player, nothing like that, just something about him. I don't know.
So I would say for me, when you have Justin Jefferson, you get like 1,000 points. So, and then the rest of their, you got
Addison's good.
Addison's good. You throw Hawkinson in there because we're doing pass catchers as a whole for this. So Hawkinson is good also. He's a little hit and miss sometimes, but for the most part, he's good. For me, and that's why I like Lions, same thing. I mean, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. He might be as things sit, the second best receiver in that division. So that automatically gives you a bump. Jameson Williams fills a role, even though if it's a role you don't like necessarily love all the time. And then you have Sam Laporta, who had one of the better rookie years for a tight end, fell off a little bit last year, unfortunately. And I know that as someone who had drafted him last year and was very, very annoyed with that he did not have as good of a year. I don't know what the heck they're doing with that whole Isaac Tesla thing. That we'll see what happens there. But you're hoping
that was a Brad Holmes is feeling himself pick.
Yeah, that's was wild.
That was.
And then I put the Bears below for the same reasons we talked about in the first half of the show. DJ Moore, is he going to turn his brain around? Is Rome going to take that step that we're talking about? What the heck is Luther Burden? I know what the Lions are in terms of the weapons, so I had to put them at number 2. Like, they are a good pass catching unit. I have nothing to say about the Packers. It's a bunch of dudes, like not like dudes, right? It's just a bunch of guys. I mean, maybe Matthew Golden turns into something, but Romeo Doubs, fine. Jaden Reed, I think, is a very good like number 2. Savion Williams is why are you there? Dontayvion Wicks is something that I just don't need to. I wanted Dontayvion Wicks to be better than he is. He just hasn't been.
Yeah, there's a lot of they have 7 number 1s. That's it.
There's a bunch of 2s, 1Bs. So it's just like, and most of it is just LaFleur just doing awesome things because LaFleur is a boss, I think more so than the talents in that room.
And Packers fans want him fired, which is hilarious.
Oh my God, yeah, please fire him. Just do it. All right, we'll do offensive line next. I have in order Lions, Bears, Vikings, Packers.
I had Lions, Vikings, Bears, Packers.
Why did you flip Vikings and Bears?
I think Christian Darrisaw is a monster, and that's your great equalizer when you're comparing 2 lines in terms of overall. Like, Darrisaw is awesome, dude. He's fantastic. And the Lions, I think that they're running away and hiding in that number 1 spot. Like, there's no one in this division that comes close to them. And really, to go on top of the Darrisaw point, the Bears haven't played together yet. That's a big thing. Like, you could literally be talking about 4 out of 5, so 80% of the Bears' offensive line being just new together.
Yeah, and I talked about that. We talked about that the first half of the show, that cohesion is super, super important. I think that's why I had the Packers and Vikings lower specifically. Like, that probably matters here in this conversation. It's similar with the Vikings where it's like Ryan Kelly, older, new player. Will Fries had a good year last year, but before that was kind of butt. And again, obviously new player. And then right now you're projected to have Donovan Jackson as your left guard, who's a rookie. So when you put all that, as much as I like Christian Darrisaw, or if not love the interior of that, especially for who essentially is a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy, I think that matters. And then I don't know, the Packers line is it's always solid. Don't get me wrong, but you got. It's just kind of some guys right now, and I don't like Aaron Banks. I think Aaron Banks is overpaid and just very average. I also
they're not going to let you regret that contract at all.
No. And the other thing, there was a moment, because I made this like 3-4 weeks ago, I think is when I made my rankings. I almost wanted to change them because then we got the news about what's happening on the Lions offensive line. Because right now you're looking at Tate Ratledge as their center, Christian Mahogany as their left guard. Is it going to be the same awesome offensive line without Frank Ragnow there at center, without Zeitler at guard. Like, I don't know anymore.
I don't know, but I think that their offensive line coach, whose name I'm blanking on, he was rumored to be an offensive coordinator candidate for Ben Johnson.
He's good.
Forget his name.
He's good.
He's earned the benefit of the doubt. So,
all right,
so I'm guessing we're saving quarterback for last.
Hank Fraley had to pull that up.
Hank Fraley.
Yes, so we're gonna do cornerback last. So, what is your ranking for corner?
So this is just defensive backs, right?
Defensive backs. Right, yes, defensive back in general.
Okay, I went Bears, Lions, Vikings, Packers.
Bears.
And that was because Bears, I just think it's such a strong group. They have a case for one of the best secondary rooms in the NFL. The Lions have Kirby Joseph. They have their slot like dime backer safety Brian Branch. Jesus, man. They spent on Terrion Arnold. They've got high-end plethora of talent all over that secondary. It's awesome. Like, I worry more about their depth than I do the Bears, but maybe that's just because I don't watch them as much as I watch the Bears, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that the Vikings are above the Packers, I think, just speaks to kind of the wizard that Brian Flores is, on top of the Packers being like, we don't need one of the guys when he's healthy, one of the 5 best corners in football, because he's weird and we're tired of dealing with him and he's never healthy, which, yeah, he's never healthy. Jair Alexander's never healthy.
It's not a good room. I mean, you have Xavier McKinney, which is
names. They look like a bunch of Madden creative players.
Xavier McKinney is the only person. Other than that, you have Evan Williams at free safety. You have Keyshawn Nixon at right corner. You have Javon Bullard who at nickel, who's fine, and then you got Nate Hobbs, who as your starting outside corner. I just don't see him there. I don't.
No, neither do I.
I don't have much to add. Bears defensive backs, the whole room. We talked already about that. The cornerback and safety, awesome. I would like the only thing I'll add for like the Lions is how the investment that they made last year, I think, is going to pay dividends this year in terms of like the draft. So that's why I agree above the Vikings. All right, and then the penultimate category, quarterback. What do you got?
Oh, I'm prepared for everyone to hate me right now, but Jared Goff 1, Jordan Love 2, Caleb Williams 3, JJ McCarthy 4.
I have literally the exact same order.
Yeah,
and it's
how can you hate Caleb Williams?
It's what you. There's a difference between how I ranked them for like within the Bears roster in terms of confidence and concern versus when you go against the NFC North. Unfortunately for the Bears in the NFC North, you have Jared Goff, who is playing like a at least top 10, if not potentially top 5 quarterback consistently. Jordan Love, you can't ignore the year he had 2 years ago. And the fact that even last year, as he healed up a little bit, he was looking better. So that matters, you know, and unfortunately you just don't have the evidence that Caleb right now is doing what they're doing. And JJ McCarthy has threw 17 passes in the preseason. I refuse to put him any higher than 4.
Yeah, you can't put him higher than 4. JJ, by the fact of has not played NFL football yet, except for a few preseason snaps, cannot qualify. Jared Goff, as much as I believe the Lions will never win a meaningful game like a Super Bowl with him at the helm, does not make him not a good quarterback. I think Jared Goff is still painfully Jared Goff and pressure bursts his pipes. Jordan Love, I would trust more to win a Super Bowl than I would Jared Goff, because Jordan Love's got a level of fuck it to him that he'll get away with some stuff. Like I actually wish he would stop with so much of the back foot throws, because it's just yeeting it up there and hoping and praying. But it is what it is. Like, to this point, both of those guys are above Caleb. You can't argue otherwise without being a blind homer to it.
If the question was who has the most potential, you would change this order, but that's not what we're doing. We are doing right now. If you looked at this like with, you know, clear eyes, who is the better, more proven, you have more confident in quarterback to go like win you a game. That's essentially that is the order.
Yeah,
And as much as I'm
without a
concerned
doubt.
for the Lions in terms of what that's going to look like without Ben Johnson, when you have John Morton now as your offensive coordinator, that is potentially going to be a problem. But you got to believe that Goff is going to retain some of what he was able to get over his last years with Ben Johnson.
Right, and Goff is good. If it were potential, you'd probably throw it Williams, Love, Goff, McCarthy. Like, but that's not what we're doing, Mason. Like, it's just not.
And if you did this at the end of the year, could all of these rankings be very different? Yes. We could
And
be
could we
literally
look like
flipping
idiots?
it all.
Yes, I expect to look like an idiot. That's just what I am.
I really should pull up like last year's and see how it ended. But
Don't do that. Don't make.
I digress because that wouldn't be fun. That's all we got for today. Hopefully, y'all have if you're listening to this before or during it, hopefully have a great holiday weekend. If you're listening to it way down the road, what is wrong with you? Focus on other things.
Yep. Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. Use Uber, use Lyft, have fun with your friends and family. Be safe more than anything. Coming from someone in my line of work, just be safe. Make the right, correct choices.
Don't hold fireworks in your hands.
Oh, for the love of God, don't do that. don't put mortars on your head.
All right, everyone, bear down.
Hey, what has 2 thumbs and hates Todd Packer? This guy.